Attention, women in business. If I asked you this question, would you have an answer? Do you feel confident knowing how to grow your business while also feeling more alive and energized? If you answered no and your business is generating a minimum of $50,000 a year, I have a limited time opportunity you'll regret missing. It's called the Revenue Breakthrough Challenge, and it's for women who are done feeling stuck in their business and ready to attract more money in a short amount of time. And guess what? It's only $197. But here's the catch. There are strings attached. It's by application only, and you have until June 17th to apply. All the details are found at Heather Chauvin, that's CHAUVIN.com/money. HeatherChauvin.com/money. So why am I even doing this and guaranteeing results, or I'll give you your money back? Because I think we have unique challenges while raising children and growing our businesses. And I believe that when you achieve a quick money win, you're going to gain more confidence in yourself, knowing that your dreams are possible and that you can do both successfully. It's my job to challenge you and to show you how to make your dreams a reality, all while being the mother you desire to be. So like I said, if you are a woman in business and your business is generating at minimum $50,000 a year, head on over to heatherchauvin.com/money. I am literally doing this because I want to help women make more, feel more, so that they can give back and make a bigger impact in the world. heatherchauvin.com/money. You have until June 17th to apply. Now let's dive into today's episode.
All right, on your mark, get set. You guys ready for this? Because I wouldn't have believed it if I'm not living it today. I went to school. I did everything my parents and teachers told me to do. Alison, you need to get a degree in a degree in college. Go get that degree in college. So I did. And I worked my first month and they handed me my paycheck and I looked at it and I said, wait, this is for a full month? Don't you mean this is a week? How am I supposed to support a family? I had a baby, an infant. And I was a school teacher, math and science school teacher. Yeah. But at that moment, I realized I can't even, according to the government standards, I can't even buy my own food. And I qualified for government assistance. And I said, this is not the life that I signed up to live. I'm going to figure out how to make more money. So I started my very first business and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I wanted to do. All I knew was that I wanted to start buying my own food. My husband was going to school full time. And so his income was like nothing. And so I just started tutoring and I said, I'll tutor at night. I'll tutor these kids that need some extra help. Started working at nights. And then I was working from 6 in the morning till about 8 o'clock at night. And I said, oh, okay, I've got some extra money coming in, but this isn't the life that I want either. No way. And so another teacher came up to me and said, hey, can I take on some of those tutoring students? And I said, yeah. Can I keep part of the money and manage everything? And they said, yes. And I was like, what? I get paid to not actually have to go tutor? I get paid to manage people. And that was when it clicked. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so great. I can manage other people. Anyway, did that for a little bit. And then we moved and the tutoring dissolved. And I'm like, what can I do? What can I do at home? And I started reading. I had to go to the library because I didn't even have a phone. My computer was so old because we couldn't afford anything new. I went to the library and I started picking up entrepreneur magazines. And I'm like, how do they pay for cars? How do they pay for vacations? How do they pay for food? And I just started reading. Everything was entrepreneurship. entrepreneurship. And then I started coming across something called e-commerce, I was like, what does that even mean? E-commerce. And everything I started to read was about selling a product online, but you had to have this big, huge inventory or big, huge amounts of money to pay for the inventory to be able to sell it online. And I'm like, I don't have any of that. I'm going to pave my own way. So I went home and I found some leftover crafting supplies that were headed to the trash can, put them up online. And I remember nursing my infant baby, and I'm typing one-handed because that's all you have when you're nursing a baby. And it was at 7:00 in the morning, and I hit submit for that product to go out online. And I heard my toddler rumbling around upstairs, and I went upstairs to grab him, start the whole breakfast routine. My husband comes whipping around the corner, and he's like, what is that ding sound going off? And I said, probably just a Buzz Lightyear toy. I don't know. So he goes off to investigate, and he comes running up the stairs screaming, Alison, those are cells. Every time that ding goes off, that is an online cell. And I'm like, wait, what? And you know, emojis, how it has every single emotion in an emoji that you can ever imagine. That's how I felt at that moment. I was so excited. It honestly, like, I've never won the lottery, but if I had won the lottery, I think it would be a similar feeling, because I just learned how to create money and didn't even have to ask my boss or the principal or anything like that. And then I was mad that I hadn't done this earlier. And I was scared because I'd never shipped more than a package to my boyfriend, my husband, my boyfriend at the time. I didn't know how to do any of this stuff. And so I was so excited. And then we sold out quickly because I only had like a handful of products. I made my first $200 to $300 and I was dancing and screaming. It was so fun. So we sold out. And the next day I'm like, oh shoot, what am I going to sell? So I went downstairs to the birthday box and found Gable boxes. They hold cookies, put those up online. Nothing sold. I'm like, okay, 50-50 shot, Alison. I can do this, 50-50 shot. Went the third day and nothing sold. And I'm like, all right, we're getting down to 33%. These are not good odds. And so I remember I was in the garage with my husband. We were putting some stuff away, and I turned to him and I said, well, I made $200 to $300. I guess this wasn't meant for me. And I remember it so clear. I believe it was God. If you don't believe in God, insert the universe, whatever you believe in, so clearly that said, Alison, how dare you quit? I just showed you it's possible. And I turned to my husband and I said, did you say that? And he's like, no. Are you okay? Thinking that I'm hearing voices in my head. I'm like, I totally heard a voice in my head, and it told me that I can't stop. And so the next morning I woke up, I don't even remember what it was, but whatever it was, it sold out. And it was just a reminder that it's not as perfect as everybody makes it sound. And I had to get on the roller coaster of entrepreneurship. And I had to decide if I was going to sit in the front seat, or if I was going to sit in the back seat, or if I was going to get off and not, like all that stuff. I said, I'm on the front row. I'm on the front row and going to hit it head on. And so we ended up growing that business to just under, this is crazy to me. Okay. Remember school teacher, remember selling garbage. We grew it to just under $50 million in sales before we ended up selling it. And I know that's a cool story. Like, I love that story so much, but I had I thought I was a one-hit wonder. I thought I just got lucky. I thought that, I don't know, the stars were aligned and whatever. So I went and I built another business, and it grew to a multi-million-dollar business. And I'm like, that's so cool. And then I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to see if my daughters can do it. And this is the coolest part ever. Like, I love this part so much, is I showed my daughter how to start daughters when they were 10 and 13, before they stepped foot into high school, how to start their online store. And they ended up growing it to over 6 figures when they were 10 and 13 years old. And like, the money part's like cool and everything, but now as they're getting a little older, this is the like mind-blowing stuff. They see that they have options. And I think as moms, instead of us saying, you have to go to college, you have to do this, this is where you have to go, it now shows them that they can do what's fulfilling for them. And selling products online, when you learn what true sales are, it's not slimy sales, women, it's serving. And when you can go and show up and say, I've got these amazing products that are going to make your life better, You can live in this state of joy, in this state of service. And that's where I personally, that's where my kids, that's where a lot of people I know find true happiness, is showing up and serving people. So that's a little bit about my story. I just pinch myself that I get to live this life. And it's because I did it scared to freaking death and knowing that I didn't want that life, to work from 6 a.m. till 8 o'clock at night, 2 jobs, barely making ends meet. I've seen too many people do that, but then I've also seen people be successful. And I'm like, if they can do it, I know I can figure this out. And so I stood up and said, I'm next. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm next. I'm going to do this. And I got in line and I did it. I did it step by step. Yep.
And here you are. Alison, thank you. I knew you would bring it. And anytime I've, watched you online, just this energy of like hope and possibility. And I truly believe that that's what it is, right? If we've been able to create a reality that doesn't feel good and it's not lighting us up, we can do the opposite too. It's just education and skill and commitment and perseverance, and having that deep, deep trust and connection as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And learning yourself and to trust your gut. Do you know how many products I put up online that my husband, like, bless his heart, he's such a good man. He would say, you're selling what? Like, one of them, Heather, you're going to love this. One of them was French fry boxes. Okay. How many minivans across America had crumpled up French fry boxes in their car? Mm-hmm. Everyone. Right. Yeah. And so I said, I'm going to sell French fry boxes. And he's like, wait, without the French fries? And at that moment I could have said, you know what? I don't know what I'm doing. My husband knows better. This is just a waste. I'm wasting my time. What am I doing? But I said, no, I was given my dream and my vision for a reason. Mm-hmm. And so I said, hey, thank you so much. But yes, I'm going to sell French fry boxes. And I went out there and knowing that sales is service, I didn't say, here's a French fry box. It's 3 inches by 4 inches and it's made out of cardboard. I said, hey, you know how you have a bake sale coming up? I mean, you got 4 kids. You haven't done laundry in 2 weeks. Your kids are eating cereal. The last thing you want to do is make homemade treats. Go to the store, get some store-bought cookies, put them in these French fry containers, wrap a bow around them, stick them on a tray, take them into the bake sale, and you're going to be queen of the bake sale. And you're not even going to mess up your kitchen. And we sold out of those French fry boxes like hotcakes. It was one of our top sellers. And so we came in saying, let me serve you. Let me show you how these French fry boxes, something so incredibly simple, can make your life better. And that's what sales are.
I would say you weren't actually selling French fry boxes, right? You were selling like time and energy and connection and possibility. And it's just redefining everything. So I want to go back, the podcast is called Emotionally Uncomfortable, and everyone listening wants that sense of alignment and freedom in whatever area of their life is really calling for it. Mm-hmm. And so I want to go back to that moment when you were talking about the first time you had that, like you received that paycheck and you were like, not this. Like, I cannot do this for the rest of my life, even though I'm sure there were aspects of your not business at the time, your work that you were doing that did bring you joy.
Oh, for sure.
And I'm sure there was some fatigue that was setting in of like, this is not sustainable, but maybe the paycheck will balance that out. And then when you're like, nope, this isn't happening. Like that moment where you're like, there has to be another way. Like, can you go back to that moment and talk about maybe the psychology of that and how you chose to kind of step outside of the box and start asking those questions where other people are just like, yeah, this is life, suck it up. Like, what was that difference for you?
I think the difference, and I've found this to be a lot in life, is I saw how exhausted I was. I had a newborn. She's a couple months old, 3 months, 4 months old, I think at the time. My husband was in school full-time, going to school for physical therapy. So that's a pretty rigorous program. We never got to see each other. I missed my baby so much. And so for me, I'm sure I could have gotten some raises to cover government assistance, right? but I didn't like to be locked in. I had to be there at 6 o'clock in the morning to prepare. I did have so much fun with those kids. Oh my gosh, we had so much fun. But I just remember how I felt every day. I'm exhausted. I'm so exhausted. I don't want to live an exhausted life. And so in my mind at that time, I said, I'm going to find the new thing. I'm going to find the thing that people are talking about, and I'm not going to look back. And I think this story, I can give you another example of when I make decisions, I just move forward. So going to the gym, Lozzie, it's hard, right? Especially if you have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and it's cold outside and you just don't want to do it. But you are like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go to the gym. And so 5 o'clock, when that alarm goes off, you have two choices. You can lay in bed and your mind is going to talk you out of it. Why? Because that's what your brain does. It says it's comfortable here. It's warm here. You go out. I know it's June, but it might be icy. The roads might be icy. You don't want to get killed. You got 4 babies at home. Just stay safe. Just stay in bed right here. Right. Or I could say, you know what? I'm going to practice on squashing that thought. I've already made the decision to get in shape. So thought, thank you for visiting, but you are not welcomed here. I'm going. And so I found a lot in my decision making. Once I've made that decision of, oh, I want to choose a different life, then I will choose a different life. Right. And I will show up for it. I'm not going to go, oh, maybe I should creep back here, or maybe I should creep back there. No, I just keep moving forward. And that was the whole thing with business. Like, all right, I've got to figure out what kind of business is going to work for me. My husband is going to be working a lot. We may have to move. What can I do online? And it's kind of funny. He actually stopped working about 9 months later after I started my first online store, which was super fun. But I did have to commit and then learn to squash those thoughts that tried to keep me safe. And I think that's where, at least my success has come. And I've noticed a lot too, when I talk to other people, and Heather, I'm sure like you too, when you make that decision, this is what I will do. This is where I will be. All of the things that you align with get you closer to that goal. Right? Sleeping in, eating Cheetos is not going to get me to my health goal. And so what's going to get me to my business goal? And I know you've got a lot of people on here that might not necessarily do business, but whatever it is, like set that goal and then stop thinking. And as a teacher, a trained junior high math and science teacher, I tell people to stop thinking, make the decision and just show up and stop thinking.
I like that because it's like, you have to first commit to the decision, and then all your shit's going to come up. And it's not really ever going to stop. I'm assuming, Alison, that it still comes up for you. It's not a one and done. You never arrive.
Oh, no. And the thing is, it comes in little chunks though, right? My first one was, is anybody going to want to buy my garbage? Am I wasting my time doing this? Right. And then I get to, okay, I'm going to buy, this is a fun one, $13,000 in paper straws. What? That's as much as like twice my car that I was driving at the time. I'm like, how am I going to do this? And I have these thoughts at every stage. And then when we go to sell the business, is this the right choice? Like every single stage of my life, I have this. I don't do it alone. I have people help me. You know this, Heather, we have to have coaches that can help us to see a bigger picture. For a lot, it was my husband. And now I just need coaches because, okay, you're not going to believe this, but I'm an introvert by heart. So when I get on stages, I literally shake and I have to have a coach guide me to get on that stage. And I've been asked to speak on some really big stages. And I'm like, oh, let me just sell cupcake liners and hide behind the screen. Do I have to tell my story? But I know now that going back to the whole God thing, like God gave me my journey to share. And it wasn't for me. It was for me to learn and to share. And so I have to go back to some of those things. So yeah, it's recognizing that they never stop, getting a coach, a loved one, someone to help you. And then knowing that your journey really isn't for you. It's really to help other people.
Okay. So I was going to go in one direction. Maybe we'll go there, but I'm going to go in another one for now. This is what I love about the conversation. So I identify as an introvert as well. And most of 100%. Like
Okay.
it is
I wouldn't have guessed
I've actually had to have like respectful conversations with my friends when they're like, you must be so busy. I never see you. And I'm like, don't take it personal. I'm a hermit. And I just love being at home with my family and like coziness and all of the things. And then I'm challenging myself in my business, and I'm not fatigued, like exhausted. I don't need to fulfill that part of myself. And so I'm like, sometimes people will even come over. I love it. I'm like, but just stop by. If you tell me you're going to come over in 3 days, I start getting anxiety about that. I'm like, just pop in, just pop in. Yeah. Or like I walk every day, like let's be walking buddies, like include yourself in an activity that I'm already doing, or I'm going to the gym or doing whatever.
Yep.
But yeah, it's very interesting, but I've had to like teach people that I'm an introvert because they assume I'm this like wildly extroverted person because my face is online.
Oh,
or you get on a stage. But I hear so many speakers are like, okay, you're going to approach me after this. And I'm going to be like awkward AF, by the way.
Totally awkward. I'm like, hi.
Yeah. And there's like, oh my gosh, you've changed my life. And you're like, I'm just a normal person.
I know. I'm like, no, you changed your life. I just talked. You changed your life. I didn't do it. Yeah. There's some times where after I get done talking, because when you get on stage, it's the weirdest thing ever. I've heard it. It's called micro famous, and everybody wants to come talk to you. Yeah. And so I'll bring my husband and I'll hide behind him because I've just poured out all of my energy, all of my soul, and I want to keep giving, but I just need to go back to my hotel room for like, I don't know, 30 minutes and stare at a blank wall to help me to like bring back the energy. So then when I approach people, I can be 100% there for them. So my husband, like, he'll protect me. Okay, get all your energy back, Alison, because you just gave it all out on stage, and then I can come back and then I'm a much better person.
I love it. My husband always jokes. He's like, you love people so much and you hate them at the same time. And it's not about hating people. It's just like the overwhelm of like that energy that comes towards you. And you're like, I really want to be who you want me to be, but I can't, and I'm not going to. Yeah. I got to go recharge my batteries.
And I think that's with everybody too. Like whether you're speaking on stage or not speaking on stage, there are just moments in time when I had my 4 little ones and they were all like, mom, 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 mom. All I wanted to do was go to Target by myself. Right. Mm-hmm. Just, I guess I could have gone anywhere by myself. I go to Walgreens. My husband's like, babe, you were there for like 3 hours. I'm like, I know, it was lovely. He's like, what'd you look at? Nothing. So I think at all stages of our lives, we just need that moment where we can just think, right? And it's not coming all at us. So I don't know.
And really giving yourself permission to do that. Like, I think that's key, is going, what do I need? Mm-hmm. And not feeling guilty or, you know what, feel guilty, but do it anyways. Cause I hate when people are like, how do I get over the guilt or fear? And I'm like, you don't, it comes with you. But let's talk a little bit about being of service. Oh, like how it's something bigger. What do you say to people who are like, I, and then they shrink and hide, and it's about them rather than really being able to see the bigger picture, the calling, who it's for, and how them showing up in their power is actually is changing the world.
Do you want to do it around sales or just around every day?
Every day, because sales is service, but every day as well. So it could be simultaneous.
Okay. So I have one, it's going to mix with sales, but I think it's her showing up to fulfill that.
Yeah.
So I have a student, Mariana, it took her 9 years to start her online store. So insert the thing that you've been wanting to do for 9 years. Maybe it's to get that perfect body. Maybe it's to go on a cruise. Maybe it's to have enough money to buy a yacht. I don't know, whatever it is. Right. And you just wait and you're like, I'll get to it. I can't, I'm too scared. I'll get to it next year. Okay. First off, we're always busy. There's never going to be a slow time. So you got to figure out how to do it when you're busy or you'll never get to it. Anyway, it took her 9 years and she decided to launch a jewelry store. So she launches this jewelry store. She made just under $500 in her first launch. And she was so excited, she doubled what I did in my very first store. So I'm like, yeah, queen, you are a queen, right? Her very first launch. So fun. And she's like, my husband, he was celebrating me. So she's getting confidence back right? That she's lost because it took her 9 years to even do something. So she's starting to get that confidence back with this first sales. And then her husband's celebrating her and she's like, I'm starting to feel so good. And then it gets better. 2 weeks later, her customer emails her and says, hey, just so you know, that necklace that I bought, I sent it to my wife. We've been separated and we were thinking about divorce. But after I sent her the necklace, she called me and we're thinking about getting back together and working on our marriage. And I thought about that for a moment. It took her 9 years. And there was probably so much dark and Satan or the dark, whoever is saying, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. You're potentially going to save a marriage. Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And so when we start feeling those feels of, I can't do this, it's not for me, maybe we need to say, who's holding me back? Yeah. Because there's someone that I'm about to serve. There's someone whose life I'm going to change. Right. And Mariana, she was typing in and she's like, I can't believe it. My product, it was like $20, $30 product could potentially change generations. And so all of that negative and all of that dark that she was feeling, I believe it was Satan and his minions and the dark, anybody he could get to help hold her back, because Satan doesn't want us to be happy. The dark doesn't want us to be happy. He wants us just to be miserable and live in those I thoughts when it's never about us. It's always about them and someone's life that we were meant to change. That's what it's all about.
And I see, like, even you telling your story. So part of my why was my children. When I started, it was so much easier to start for my children and really learn skills and behavior and change my behaviors for my children. Mm-hmm. And now I'm very interested in like that contrast of education and what do I want to do when I'm older, and just hearing your story about teaching your children how to make their own money at the age of like 10 and 13 to essentially pay for their own education if they choose to do that, rather than this like pressure of like, I work so hard to put away to blah, blah, blah. And then it's just like, I did it. It's such a different mindset and energy and way of being in the world. So how has jumping into entrepreneurship changed the trajectory of the beliefs and what you see for and opportunities that you've gifted your children beyond money?
So I think you just nailed it right on the head. So my oldest, she graduated and it's not pressure. She has money for college. She has money to do. She's thinking about going into life coaching school. She has money to learn who she really is, right? I didn't have a gap year. I guess gap years are a thing. I didn't know what a gap year was. I had to hurry and get my degree. And then I had to hurry and get a job. And then I had to hurry and get kids. And then I had to hurry. Why are we teaching our kids to hurry? Yeah. Why can't we teach them to enjoy life? How many people do you know have hurried their whole life? They get to 40, 45 and they look back and they're like, this is what I hurried for? I hurried for a 9-to-5 job. I still have to work 20 more years to retire? No. But what if we could teach our kids to learn how to find joy, right? I believe hard work. I believe serving others. I believe a love in God or a higher power. A love of your body, of who you are. Those 4 things. I learned this from a good friend named it's Anna McFarland. Her Instagram's Anna is the worst. I always say that and people are like, you're calling her the worst? No, she titled herself that way. Anyway, those 4 things are what happiness is. If we go out and try and find happiness, that's a very selfish thing, right? But what does happiness consist of? Serving others, working hard, right? How many times have you not done anything? I don't know, maybe you got a headache and all you did was sleep for the day. And then you're just like, oh, right. But when you go out there and you work super, super hard and you come home and you're exhausted, you just feel so good. Right. And then learning to love yourself, learning to turn off social media or unfollow people that make you feel like crap. They're not intentionally making you feel like crap. It's your own thoughts in your head that you're like, oh, they're so much skinnier. They're so much blah, blah, blah. Turn that stuff off if it makes you feel that way. Right. And go to the root of where happiness is found. And I think not having the pressure of her hurrying, and all my kids, my boys are going to start a business this summer. It just gives them the freedom to figure out what they want now, instead of when they're 45 and then they're just like miserable with a family and they're like, I don't want this life. I don't want this life. Right. And I'm not saying they're going to evolve, but they're going to know that evolving is the process and they're not stuck. I think so many people get stuck and feel like this is just what I have to do the rest of my life. And I'm like, no, there's so much more out there. So I think that's the core of it, is just showing them that they have options to find what makes them happy.
Yeah. And seeing the seeds that you're planting to just, they can either or, right? I think so often we know there is another way. And I'm sure that was the beginning of your journey when you were choosing. You didn't have, I don't know your backstory, but you didn't have parents that had what you have right now. And we're like, hey, here's an option for this or this. I'm assuming you were learning the other way, which was get education, do this, get a career.
They were actually entrepreneurs, which is kind of funny, but they ended up getting a divorce, and they lost everything. And there was so much instability, lost a house. We lived in what we called the rat house. We were on government assistance. And so I got to see the two contrasts where we had money and then we lost it all. And then I got to decide, which way do I want to go? Which way do I want to go? I have the most amazing, beautiful parents, but they struggled and they didn't know how to teach us. And then I even tell my kids, okay, Heather, I'm going to be so honest. How many kids do you have?
I have 3 boys.
You have 3 boys. Okay. So I sat my 4 kids down on the couch and I said, kids, I've never been a parent. This is the first time. And I promise you, I'm going to mess you up. 100%. I don't know if what I'm doing is right. But at the end of the day, I promise to always love you. So when you go out to college, when you go off and do these things and you're like, Mom, I feel so weird. I know I probably did that and I'm sorry, but I love you. You can come home and I'll feed you ice cream.
I love that. I also love, we need to take the pressure off of ourselves. And there does come a time where we have to just take radical response. Like we have to take responsibility for, I can't blame my parents that they did the best that they could. And we have access to things that weren't even invented then.
So true. A phone.
Yeah.
An online store.
Yeah.
Amazon, like all the things, right?
100%. So I'm like, okay, I could talk to you forever and ever. And I love this. Where can people, like, what are you up to these days? What is exciting you and setting your soul on fire when you are in your business helping people? Like, what is that thing that just, you're like, yes, they're getting it. What is it that brings you so much joy?
I think the true joy, like I love business building. It's so fun for me, but it's been an interesting swap. To now my joy is found in when I see students succeed. Heather, you're like this. I listened to some of your podcasts and the way that you light up, it has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with worldly things. It's like this inner burning that gives you this massive dopamine hit. Like, I'll just be honest with you. Right when we have a success,
yes, the addiction.
It is the addiction.
Yeah.
And everybody that's listening, like, find that addiction. What is the thing that lights you up? Money? Maybe it will light you up for the first little bit when you start paying for your Disneyland trips in full or whatever it is, right? Those are just little things to help drive you to get there. But then you start listening to yourself. What is the thing that drives you? And so what we're doing now is we're taking some of our top case studies and then we're talking to them and saying, hey, what was the thing that almost stopped you from being successful? We have one gal, she's like, I thought I was too old. I thought I was too old to start. She's a grandma on her hip. Not on her hip, a grandkid on her hip.
She's a grandma on her hip.
Grandma on her hip. And so we're taking these students that have put all their excuses aside and then just moved forward. And we're assembling this, we're calling it like a workbook because we're showing them, showing people their limiting beliefs and then how they busted through it. I think that is something that I'm so excited about because then I get to talk about other people. Instead of my story, I'm like, oh, let me tell you about this person. Let me tell you about this person. Like, Heather, you do the same thing on your podcast. You're like, oh my gosh, this person did this and this person did this, right? It's so much funner as introverts to talk about other people. And so we're compiling this book and then we're going to give it out to the world for free. Just because we know little tiny shifts will change. And then I'll link that to, it'll be in my Instagram bio there. I think that's the thing that's really lighting me up.
I love it. And it all started by you telling your story and you leading and you making a choice to say, not this, I want something better. I'm going to do the work and get the support that I need to figure it out, and having no idea what you were doing, and just step by step by being the change you wanted to see. Mm-hmm. And then now being able to dive in and go, oh my gosh, look at the ripple effect.
Yeah.
So I tell people this all the time. So before we hit record, I said to you, a lot of times people will say, what's my purpose? And then they want to jump into a business and they want to align their purpose with a business. And here you are teaching people e-commerce. And I don't think my purpose is to sell straws or cupcake, holders online. So how do you answer that question when a lot of times they're being sold? Because there is the online marketing world of monetize your purpose. So how do you answer that question?
And it's ask that question again, like, how do I help people find their purpose? Like
if somebody's like, I want to find my purpose and I want to start a business, but you're like, listen, like what's your relationship to purpose and how you do business, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So I think people trying to find their purpose, there's so many different purposes out there and they get overwhelmed and then they get stuck and then they don't even start. I think sometimes we're trying to find that goal that'll happen in 10, 20, 30 years. And the thing that we start today defines who we're going to be in 10 to 20, 30 years. And I think that's a lie. Mm-hmm. I think you just have to start. I did not know I would be teaching 13 years later and talking to you, Heather, on a podcast when I sold trash. Right. I think we just have to start. And through starting, that creates clarity. If you're an extrovert and you love to be online, just start talking online. And then when you see the comments come in and the likes come in, you're like, okay, that feels good. I like talking about that. Or if you're selling something online, just start selling anything and find through momentum, through motion, what the passion is, right? I don't think passion is clear. I think it is momentum that creates that clarity. And the only way is if you get out of your dang head, you get out of your way, and you don't make it about you.
Yeah.
You get out there and you serve the world. And that's where the passion lies. And then that's that inner dopamine hit that we were talking about. That's where we find it. The first time I taught, I was so scared. I couldn't even feel the dopamine because I was just shaking so bad. The dopamine probably shook out of my ears. I couldn't feel it. Right. But I said, it's okay. I'm going to show up again. I'm going to show up again. I'm going to show up again. And then I started noticing, oh my gosh, I got to go for a walk. I'm so excited. I got to calm down.
I love that. Yeah. You can feel it, right? I call those breadcrumbs. You're like, ooh, okay, more of this, more of this, more of this. And yeah, you have to get emotionally uncomfortable in order to change and shake things up.
So uncomfortable, but it's so worth it. Okay. I just have to ask you a question. Have you felt your comfort zone in a while? You been in your comfort zone in a while?
I'm in my comfort zone in certain areas, and then I will find a growth edge. Like I'll be like, okay, where do I want to grow? And yeah, I get outside my comfort zone all the time. Okay. But not in every area of my life at the exact same time.
I love that you said that. I feel like I haven't been in my comfort zone for 13 years. I don't even know where that line is, Heather.
You've been out of your comfort zone. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yeah. Totally out of my comfort zone. Every single time I put something out for sale, every time I'm asked to speak, like, okay, there's no comfort here. That's okay. Just go. And I think we get comfortable with uncomfortable, and that's where we live for us to grow.
If I am comfortable for too long, I feel like I'm actually reverting back at this point. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I purposely pick one area of my life. So it might be speaking. Usually if I'm doing podcasts, I'm fine. I could speak all day, every day. If you ask me to write, that is more outside my comfort zone. Because I do, but I also like to speak because as a child, I had learning disabilities or was diagnosed with learning disabilities. So I would overcompensate by verbally dictating everything. So actually writing is more painful for me. And then when I wrote my book, that was awful. Like
Can we just celebrate you? Can we just celebrate you for that? You just did the hardest thing in the whole world. You wrote a book.
Yeah.
Anybody's ever written a description or a caption on Instagram, like, holy praises to you.
I know.
Like, congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I'm trying not to deflect or like, just be like, oh, that's uncomfortable.
Own it.
Yeah. But it's true. And I think the world of entrepreneurship, parenting in general, is you have to always be outside your comfort zone, because that's the whole point of growing, especially when you're making it something about bigger than just you.
Yep. And it's always bigger. It's always bigger than something than just us.
Yeah. So Alison, people are going to find you on Instagram. But how do you work with people if they're like, this woman is on fire and I want more of her? So how do you typically support your community?
So I have you can go to 0to100k.com, and that's where I show you how I taught my daughters and how I've taught other people how to make their first 100,000 online, and make sure it's right for you. It's not right for everybody. Some people love starting businesses. We've got a lot of people that are doing it this summer with their kids for a little bit of summer school. And then always there's the AlisonJPrince.com. Alison's just with one L, by the way, Alison. And then I've got a podcast where lots of moms come in and talk about their journey and balancing business building. And that's called the Because I Can Life. So lots of different ways, but you can reach out to us and we're here to serve you. We want you to find joy and live an abundant life and get out of the scarcity mindset.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Thank you so much, Alison. I'm so incredibly grateful that you were here.
That was fun. Thank you.
There it is. You just listened to the Emotionally Uncomfortable podcast. If you want to take this conversation to the next level, head on over to our private Facebook group community, heatherchauvin.com/Facebook. My last name is spelled CHAUVIN. That's heatherchauvin.com/Facebook. Also, if you are a huge fan of this show, please rate and review it on iTunes. Every review helps another woman like you take back control of how she wants to feel and become emotionally uncomfortable. I truly believe the better we feel, the more alive we become. This is how we are going to change the world. And if you've been watching me for a while, if you've been on the fence and you're curious, how can Heather help me? Head on over to heatherchauvin.com/work with me to check out my mastery and mastery business coaching programs. That's heatherchauvin.com/work with me.